Hey, Coach. Well, I'm so happy you found us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell up above. We put out content just about every day. Also, go down below and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. If you're looking to become a better basketball coach, you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for resources, teachhoops.com is the answer for you. Go over and check it out and have a great day.
All right, welcome to High School Hoops. Coach Barker, welcome.
How are you today?
Co-hosting with Coach Collins. We've been talking for an hour, so I feel like I know him. That's why I like doing that beforehand. So before we jump in today to our podcast, I'd like a big shout out to our sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the number one shooting machine on the market. In my opinion, do you have a Dr. Dish, Coach?
Yes, we do.
You
Yep, we
do.
have two of them. Yep.
Two. There you go. There you go. Listening, Dr. Dish. Uh mention High School Hoops and you get $450 off. And then also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. I've got two kids in college and I want to take my wife out to Chipotle, not Taco Bell. The coach likes Taco Bell. So we're not going to go to Taco Bell, but maybe Chipotle. I can take my wife out to Chipotle. So go over and check out Teach Hoops. I'm actually redoing the site right now. I'm hiring somebody to do it. So we're going to give it a new look. It hasn't had a new look since the last time we were at state tournament. So I'm hoping maybe that will get us back there again. All right. So today's topic is this is coach's idea. Having parents on your coaching staff. Good topic, I think, especially for high school coaches or any high school coach. I'm going to let you talk, and I definitely have some opinions on this too, having coached, like you said, having coached my own son. But what's your thoughts, Coach?
Yeah, I think there's just some areas that you kind of need to be cognizant or aware of as a coach when making these decisions. And I did not have a parent on staff my first 4 seasons as a head varsity coach. This past year was the first year, and one of those things I think you need to be aware of is where their son or daughter is in the program in terms of what grade, but also in terms of what ability and skill they're at. A little background. So the parent that came on staff, her daughter started the first, it was the start of her junior season. She started all 50 games of her high school career. So I think that's kind of something to be aware of, right? It's not someone that's a freshman coming in fighting for minutes. It's someone that was a starter for
Yep.
2 straight years. So that's just one area to be aware
So
of.
no one, great Aunt
Mhm.
Sally sitting in the third row is going to question why. Is yes, I think that's important. There's
Yep.
no ambiguity. I would agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So the other area too, I think, is has that parent been involved with these players in the past? Why I think that's important is because, in the case that I'm referring to, she was, and she coached them all the way up. So you kind of know from others, and also I had three parents approach me because they knew I had an opening on staff, saying, "Hey, you need to get her to join the staff." So there's a lot of positives you're hearing. A lot of the players speak highly of them, and I think that's something that you really want to do and be aware of. So that's just one area. Like,
Do
hey,
you
as
think
this
she'll
coach,
stay after her daughter leaves?
we've had those discussions, and I think as long as I'm there, she will.
Okay, that'd be
I
great.
and
Yeah.
I do believe that. She loves the game. Her dad was a coach. She's
Okay.
always been around it.
Oh, if her
So
dad was a coach, then she's got it in her blood at that point.
yeah, yep.
Um, so I think, Coach, this is my personal opinion. I think you
Mhm.
hit on a couple key components. First of all, I'm gonna just be real. You have kids, right?
Yeah, young,
Okay.
but
Young, but how many? Two?
eventually, two, yeah,
Two. So you
kindergartner and a first grader.
okay, so you have two young ones, and I have
Yep.
two old ones. Anyway,
Hmm.
um, couple things. First of all, we love our kids.
Hmm.
Everybody does. Um, and it is really hard as a parent to coach your kids.
Hmm.
And to have from someone that did it, I coached my son in 4 volleyball seasons and 2 basketball seasons. It was 6 high school varsity seasons. That's hard to
Hmm.
not be dad and to be coach. Because that dad, I, I remember one of my assistants saying at some point, not to me, but about someone else, another parent that wasn't coaching, said this parent, she said she would eat you, Steve, before she let anything happen to her child. Like
Mm-hmm.
she would like rip your head off and eat you before. And it's like that always comes back in my head. It's like, yes, you're always dad first, coach second. You're always dad first. So it's really hard. So for me, it was really important to have people around me that were telling me the truth and telling me where they saw that my child. And I know I was harder on him than anybody else. Just by kind of some of the conversations that me and some of my assistants would have, like, you need to put Drew in, blah, blah, blah.
Question for you. Do you think that's different with you being the head coach instead of the parent being an assistant? That would, I guess, alleviate some of
It
those
would,
final decisions,
it
right?
would, alleviate final decisions, which I think would make it easier as long as that you knew they had your back.
Yeah.
You're always worried about whether they have your back. And again, I think it's a little bit different. Let's say here's where I think one of the differences is. I'm the head coach, you're the assistant, and your kid's in 6th grade. Great. And we are coaching together. Your kid's in 6th grade, your kid's in 7th grade, your kid's in 8th grade. And then all of a sudden your kid is in 9th grade. You and I have already been coaching together for 4 years. So by that point, you probably know my rhythm. I know your rhythm. You know how I'm going to handle it if, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's a little bit easier too. Because I've seen that a lot of times assistant coaches have kids coming up. Great. To be honest, I cut one of my assistant coaches' kids early in my career, and it was not an easy thing. But would I do it in retrospect? I probably wouldn't have cut him in retrospect. I probably would have kept him, and he probably would have understood his role. But I was young, and it was early in my career, and I was feeling like I had to make anyway. Retrospect is a lot of things. I think it's a very landmine filled area and you can do it, and it sounds like you got a good one that's kind of working, but there can be a lot of landmines in that for the people. I'm just saying, think of all the high school coaches that are listening to this. I know the number of downloads. There can be pluses and minuses, and you have to go into it with open mind and open eyes.
One thing I think,
make sure there's no hidden agendas is what I'm telling you.
For sure. I think one thing that really is important is how many, with being a parent is the assistant, not as the head coach, how many other assistants and what role is that assistant play in the program. I think that's another aspect. One of the biggest
are they a sophomore coach or a freshman coach? It might, and they're not sitting on your bench. It might be a totally different thing. As soon as they're sitting on your bench, I think that the optics change a little bit too at that point too.
One of the biggest,
worry about optics.
One of the biggest positives is it's hard to find coaches that are invested. And when it's a parent, they're invested, right? They
Too much sometimes, but
yes, sometimes true. And also depending where you're at, it's difficult to find good assistants that know the game of basketball. So that's why I think it's more things like you said, like landmines. What do you need to be aware of? Because in some situations, in some school districts, it is your best option, right?
Right. And I'm not saying you don't do it. I'm just saying I think you have to know what you're walking into.
100% agree.
That's and again, I've seen it work and I've seen it not work. I mean, I have seen it more blow up when it's the head coach. I've seen it more blow up when the head coach's kid is the 7th best player and they're playing 30 minutes a game. That's a little bit bigger issue, I think. But you're talking more as on the staff, on, having an assistant. I think it's, again, and especially in smaller towns, it is your best option, probably sometimes.
The last thing I'll say on it is be aware of the impact it may have on the player. Like, is that parent always helping and watching film with the player, but now that they're on staff, they're going to separate themselves from that, right? Because a lot of parents that coach their kids are like, hey, as soon as we get in the car or as soon as we walk in the door, I'm dad,
I'm done.
I'm
I
mom,
know.
right?
That was
So
our rule. That was our rule.
that
Our
could,
rule was as soon as we left practice, because it
yep.
used to be it used to be walking the house, and then you'd
Mhm.
hear an earful on the way home. It's like, well, that ain't
So question for you, how much do you think, if you weren't your son's coach, could you have helped him that you didn't, because you didn't want to blur those lines? I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at,
I
right?
think I could have more.
Yep.
Um,
But you didn't want to blur the lines of coach and dad.
I didn't, because I'm dad. Like, I'm
Yep.
dad now, so I don't really care. Like, whatever. If I had
Mhm.
to make a mistake, that's the way I was going to make the mistake.
Oh, I
'Cause I'm
agree.
always
Yep.
going to be dad. I'm not always going
Mhm.
to be coach. And he still loves the game, and he still likes playing, and he still
Mhm.
thinks I should have played him in game X, Y, and Z or whatever. That's fine. I live with that.
Yep.
He's always going to think that. And maybe he's right. Maybe he's wrong. I don't know.
Mhm.
But there's no blur on that father-son relationship is strong.
Mhm.
Um,
And that's what's
and
important at
that's
the
what's
end of the
important. That's
day.
all I care
Yep.
about. I don't the other
Yeah.
whatever. It's like basketball game. But yeah, I think that's what would your bit of advice be, coach?
I would say just understand the actual dynamics of that player, what friend group,
Yeah, and I think the assistant coach
Mhm.
parent with the other players dynamic could be an issue
Correct.
too. Like
Yep.
Johnny's always been an asshole.
And that's why I said,
Yeah.
has the coach coached that group previously? And what are the comments or feedback that you've heard about them, right? So I had 3 parents come to me and say, hey, you need to get her on staff. Players were saying you had to get her, so it's like, it's a no-brainer, right? And I mean, I watched them coach for 2-3 years, and there was no red flags in my eyes. So that's something where I think at the end of the day, you have to weigh out all the options, and as a coach and a person, what are you most comfortable with? Are there going to be awkward times? There was plenty of awkward times. But at the end of the day, we both as coaches understood each other, right? And I mean, what I mean by awkward times, like, hey, there was games where, she has kind of the opinion, hey, maybe leave her in a little bit longer. And I'm like, nope, so it's just, it
Yeah.
won't be comfortable at all times, but you just have to understand that when you're
And
getting
as long as
into
they
it. And
know you're coming from
yep.
an area of love and caring,
Hmm.
that's what the parent needs to know. And if they know that,
Yep.
then you're fine.
And you can't not talk about their kid, right?
Right.
Because like, if they're, obviously they're around and you're not talking about their kid, then they're like, wait, you know what I mean? You have to talk about them like you would any other kid. And that's what I mean. Sometimes you're saying, hey, your daughter's not performing, which
Right.
maybe they don't want to hear it, but
Why is Susie having a bad day today? Did she
yeah,
flunk her algebra test? Blah 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 blah. Like the discussions coaches have. It's like
yeah. But you
okay.
have to have the relationships with your assistant coaches. And, I think all the coaches out there kind of understand, I guess, what you need from a coach, and the dynamics of the team. And the more of that ahead of time, the better position you'll be in to,
Yes.
make that decision.
100% agree. All right. Till next week, coach.
Hey, Coach, so glad you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe and like. Second all, go check teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Let me help you put banners and stuff in your gym and become a nationally ranked coach, win more games in less time. Teachhoops.com is a community that will allow you to do that. Go over and check it out, and go check the next video out. Bye.